Okay, in this video we're going to be talking about the Unit 6A Quiz 3 review. So hopefully you'll be following along with me and you'll be getting a lot of your questions answered. All right, here we go. Starting with question number 2. So some of these questions are a little off here, number-wise. All right, so if Jerry works 52 hours, what will his gross weekly pay be? All right, let's look up at Jerry. And if you see, Jerry is getting paid, let's see, $18 an hour, and he gets time and a half for overtime. All right, so with that being said, he worked 52 hours. So remember, 52 hours. The numbers that you need to know going into this problem is that regular time, RT is 40 hours. So anything else, which in this case would be 12 additional hours, would be considered overtime. Okay? So now, again, regular time, he is getting paid $18 an hour. All right? Now, for overtime, I got to figure out, okay, $18 an hour times 1.5, that gives me, I believe, 27 hours, or $27. All right? So I'm going to then say 12 hours at $27 an hour. All right? So if you remember, I'm going to take these two numbers and multiply them, and these two numbers and multiply them. And after I do that, I'm going to add my two numbers here, and my final answer ends up being, after I do that, $1,044. Okay? Sarah was getting paid bi-weekly. All right, so bi-weekly, you already know it's going to be a 26. So bi-weekly, I know I'm probably going to have to multiply by 26 somewhere. But the owner changed her pay schedule to monthly. So again, monthly, you know that you're going to have to times it by 12 somewhere, okay? So how much more, okay, that's what we really got to focus on here. How much more is her monthly gross pay compared to his biweekly gross pay? All right, so what we need to do is this. We need to figure out what is the biweekly pay. All right, we got to figure that out. And then we got to figure out what is the monthly pay. That's our second thing. And then after that, we need to find the difference between the two. All right. So let's look at Sarah's information here. All right. Sarah is an office manager. And let's see, she gets an annual salary of $52,000 annually. All right. So again, we got to find biweekly first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say over here, 52,000. I'm going to divide that by 26, because that's what biweekly is. And when I do that, I get an answer of $2,000. All right. Now the next thing I need to do is find monthly. So 52,000, divide that by 12, because that's monthly. When I do the math, I'm going to get a decimal, $4,333.33. Okay. Now, again, remember, the question is how much more is the paycheck. All right, so her biweekly paycheck is $2,000. Her monthly paycheck is $4,333. So I just find the difference. So 4,333.33 minus 2,000. And when I do that, I'm going to get my answer, and my answer is going to be $2,333.33. All right. So question number 4. Let me move this up a little bit. All right, question number 4. Last week, Toby was able to fill 180 boxes. How much was his gross pay? All right, let's take a look at Toby. Oh, it's right here. All right, so Toby, let's see. He gets 85 cents for every box up to 120, and then for everything over 120, he gets $1. All right, so he was able to fill 180. So I'm going to split 180. So when I split 180, it's going to be $120 for, and he gets 85 cents per box. Everything over that is 60, and he gets paid $1. All right. So with this problem, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply this number, and then after I do that, I'm then going to add what I got, and my answer ends up being, make that a little bigger. There you go. $162. All right. Now, let's see. Next week, Toby was sick and he was only able to fill 118 boxes. All right. Now, again, remember, he gets paid. Let me highlight this just again. He gets paid 85 cents for every box up to 120. He only filled 118, so he never got above 120. So that means I'm going to just take 118 and I'm going to times that by 0.85. And when I do that, I'll get my answer. And my answer ends up being $100.30. All right, for 1 week, Chris was able to sell $25,000 worth of product. How much is gross pay? All right, so Chris, let's see. Okay, Chris is let's see, what is Chris? He is a salesman. He gets 1.7 commission and then plus a base salary of $250 per week. Now, remember, this base salary means after I finish doing my calculations, I'm going to add 250 bucks. All right. Now, the commission is the total sales, which in this case is 25,000. So let me make this a little smaller. So 25,000, and I'm going to times that by the percentage, which is 0.017. And so when I do that, I believe it ends up being 425. But then again, remember, you have to add the additional 250 to the 475. So when you do that, you get $675. All right. Amanda has a savings account in his credit union and charges $10 fee for every month below 700. Her account at 950. All right. So this problem here is this is pretty standard. We started with $920.25. She withdrew 300 bucks. So when you did that, she ended up with $620.25, which is a violation because it's supposed to be her account should stay above 700. It did not. But it also, let's see, $10 fee for 7 months. So that means we're going to continue the deduction by $70. And when we do that, we're going to get our answer of $550.25. All right, Frank purchases a 35 millimeter camera for $299.97, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the sales tax rate is 5.4%. What is the total purchase price? Okay, this is a relatively simple one. So let's see, $299.97 plus $69.97 plus $49.97 plus three rolls at $3.95. And I believe that's it. So that equals $431.76. But the sales tax rate was 5.4%. So I got to multiply that by 0.054. And when I do that, I get $23.32 in tax. So at this point, I take my subtotal and add my tax to it. And when I do that, I get an overall purchase price of $455.08. All right, here's a story of 4 sisters and their gross income. Jessica makes $23.25 per hour. Sarah makes this. All right, Julie makes that per week, and then Tammy has an annual income of $97. All right, so this is one of these questions where you have 4 sisters on 4 different pay periods. And so what you have to do is you have got to decide, what am I going to convert the sisters' pay to? Okay, so everybody is working on a different time schedule. So an hour a month, I'm going to convert everything to yearly. Again, we got to convert everything to yearly because of the fact that, or not necessarily to yearly, but to one thing so we can compare. And I just decided yearly. Why? Because I wanted to. That's why. So here we go. Jessica, she makes $23.25 per hour, but she is full-time. She's full-time. So that means I'm going to take $23.25. I'm going to times it by 40. And so when I do that, I'm going to get $930 a week. This represents a week. And then I'm going to convert that to a year by timesing it by 52. So that means $48,360. All right. Now Sarah makes $4,000 per month. All right. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to times that by 12 because that gives me her yearly. So her yearly ends up being 48,000. Okay. After that, Julie, well, she makes $981 a week per week, and I'm going to times that by 52 because that's how you convert it to yearly. 51,012. And then lastly, Tammy, what makes Tammy easy is because they already give it to her. She makes 49,000. All right, so here you're just comparing. So let's see. Jessica, 48,000, 360. Sarah, 48,000. Julie, 51,000. Tammy, 49,000. Well, let's just start putting stuff together. So, who makes the most? Who makes the most? And that is Julie. Who makes the second most, I guess? Tammy. Who makes the third most? And of course, when I say third, you know, I'm being kind of weird with the grammar here. And then, by my calculation, Sarah should make the least. All right. All right, Janet works for Smith's Feed and Seed and has an annual salary of $65,208, but she is weekly. So I'm going to take 65,000 and I'm going to divide that. So I'm going to, let's see, divide that by 52. So when I do that, the gross pay ends up being 1,254. All right. Now, from the gross pay, you are going to multiply all the percentages of the problem. So the federal income tax is 5%. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit just to keep the video a little slow or a little quicker. The FIT is $62.70. Social Security, $77.75 for the deduction. Medicare is $18.18. The state was $56.43. The local ends up being $12.54. Now the medical, it says Janet pays 10% of her health care, which has an annual cost of $8,300. All right, so for the medical, let me just do that real quick. We know that $8,300 is how much is her bill. So we're going to times that by Janet's responsibility, which is 10%, which is $830. Now, $830, she has to pay that over the course of her year, which she gets paid bi-weekly. I'm sorry, she gets paid weekly. So when I do that, every week she gets $15.96 taken out. Her union dues, she doesn't have any, so that's going to be an NA. And then her other, she gets $100 taken out. Why 100? Because it says it right there, 100. So at this point, I'm going to take all of this and subtract it from that. And when I do the math, my net pay ends up being $910.44. There you go. All right. Looking at a whole bunch of formulas here. I'm going to need those formulas. So let's answer some questions. Oh, here we go. How much simple interest? All right. So simple interest, I already know I'm going to be dealing with then I equals, I equals PRT formula. Okay. That's what I'm going for. So that means it's going to be I is equal to $5,000, parenthesis, 6%, 0.06, close parenthesis. Oh my goodness, there's 20 months here. I cannot put a 20, I got to do 20 divided by 12. And so when I do that, I get an answer of $500. Now remember, this is the interest. So continued from the previous question. What was the balance? Well, I started with $5,000 and I gained $500. So the balance was 5,500. All right, so let's see. Sarah invested 1,750. Let's keep reading. You guys can read. Oh, I think I saw it, and that is compounded weekly. All right, that's the big boy formula. That's going to be this guy right here. Right here, big guy. We're going to use that one. Okay, so B is equal to 1,750, I get it right. 1 plus, let's see, the interest rate 0.05, divide that by 52, close parenthesis, and let's see, we're going to raise that to 52, and I'll do that in a second, hold on, times 30. Now, the reason it's 30 is because Sarah was 20 years old when the problem started, and they want to know 50. So let me take that 52 and 30 and raise it to the power. There we go. So when we do the math, we end up getting the balance is equal to, let's see, $7,837.31. Notice I didn't put in the blank because if you read the question, there's a curveball question. How much interest did she earn? All right, so the balance is 7,000, but I just want to know the interest. So that means I'm going to have to subtract the original amount of 1,700. That's why the details can get, folks. Make sure you pay attention to what the question's asking you. So the answer is $6,087.31. All right, Dave deposited $10,000 in a CD that pays simple interest. All right, so this is another simple interest formula. So that's going to be I is equal to $10,000, parenthesis, 0.085, close parenthesis, after 3 years times 3. All right, so when I do that, I get an answer of, let's see, $2,500. Okay, $550, I'm sorry. But again, another curveball, read the question, and that is, what was his balance? All right, so his balance means I have to add it back. So I have to take 250 and add it back to 10,000. So when I do that, I get a balance of 12,550 bucks. George deposits 15,000 that compounds, okay, continuously. That's the PERT formula. All right, so that's going to be the balance is equal to 15,580. That's going to be little e, and I'm going to raise this to a power in a second. Give me 1 second. So on this times 10. Raise this so you can all see it. There you go. And so when I do that, the answer ends up being, because it's all a calculator, $23,242.63. There you go. Let's keep going. All right, so this question here, this should be like clockwork now. You should already know to start off with a proportion. So I'm going to be writing with my mouse here, so it's going to be a little weird here. All right, $95 over $15, 15%, I'm sorry, is equal to X over 100. So when you do the math, how much is his insurance cost? It's $633 because I rounded to nearest whole. Now, this is how much it costs to insure him every semi-month. So we got to convert that to yearly. So I'm going to take 633, I'm going to times that by 24. And when I do that, I get an answer of 15,192. All right, maybe I should have wrote that a little bigger. There we go. 15,192. Now it says, how much does Toby actually pay for his health care? Well, he pays $95. He pays $95 every semi-monthly. So I'm going to times that by 24. And when I do that, I get 2,280 bucks. So again, wrap your brain around this. And that is, it costs Toby $15,000 to be insured, yet he only has to pay $2,000 of it. So the company pays the rest. So for this question, $15,000 $192 minus 2,280, which gives me my answer of 12,912. There you go. Hopefully we've done that for so long you got this. All right. Next is the taxes stuff. All right. So with taxes, the tax form. All right. So let me pause this because I got to fix this real quick. Okay, so basically with this, the way that this question is set up, to save time and space, I went ahead, rather than giving you Jenna's W-2, I went ahead and told you exactly what she made and how much the government took out. All right, so this represents how much she made. This represents how much they took out. All right, so let's go ahead and start figuring this out. All right, so let me go to a blank one. All right, so again, wages, salaries, tips, and all right, so that is attached to the W-2, but again, I went ahead and gave that to you, 67,452. So the very first one, 67,452. All right. Now, lines 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be skipped. Okay, they will be skipped. Those are zeros. Now, I'm not going to put the zeros in just because I don't have time to put them all in because I'm typing all this. So line 7 will be 67,452 because I added lines 1 through 6. All right. Now, line 8, if you notice, line 8, that is the infamous $12,000. Line 8 will always be $12,000. All right. 12,000. All right. 12,000. So for line 9 is a skip. Line 10, we are subtracting 67,000 by 12,000. So that's 55,452. All right. Now, moving on to line 11. This is where you go to the table. All right, so let me write this right next to it. This is where you go to the table. And what you're looking up is going to be, let me highlight, you're looking up 55,452. All right. So let me see if I can go to the table. I think I have it here. All right. So let me write it. So 55,452. That's what I'm looking for. All right. So what bracket does 55,000 go with? And oh, here it is, 22%. Okay. So with that being 22%, let me move all this down. Give myself a little more room here. So if you notice, it starts off with 4,543. Now we've done this enough to where this should be familiar to you. So it's going to be 4,543 plus, it says 22%, 0.22, parenthesis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, some number minus another number. Okay. Now, the first number represents the number that you're looking up. So this would be, the number I looked up was 55,000. Let me do this again. 55,452. That will go here. Okay. And then it also has 39,475. That will be my second number. All right. 39,475. Okay. You can put that in the calculator and just press enter and it'll give it to you. So the taxes that should be taken from her, or the taxes that she should pay, is for step 11 is going to be 8,058. That's how much money should be taken from her. Okay. So the next line 12 is a skip. Line 13 is you're subtracting 8,000 from 0, 8,058. All right. And then line 14 is another skip. Line 15 is add 13 and 14, which again is 8,058. Line 16, this is how much was taken from her on her W-2. All right, so let me highlight this so you can just kind of see it. W-2, this is where you're looking at. All right, so let me go back. If you notice, the W-2 says they took $10,118. All right, so $10,118. Uh-oh. All right, sorry, a little computer froze up for a second. All right, so $10,118. Line 17, that's a skip. Line 18 isn't, I think you're adding it, 10,000. 118. And then lines 19 or 22. These are the two lines that you're going to do. You're either going to get a refund or you're going to overpay. So let's read what it says, or refund or owe. If line 18 is more than 15, 18 is 10,000, 15 is 8,000. That works. That means the person overpaid. All right. So I'm going to find the difference by subtracting $2,060. All right. There we go. That is the refund. Okay. Now I threw some questions in here to answer with this. And so off to the right, it says Jenna's federal tax questions. So when we used the table, what was the dollar amount you used? Meaning, what was the number you looked up? Well, going back to the table, if you notice, we looked up 55,452. All right. So if you can answer these questions, I know that you did it right. 55,452. How much should the federal government collect in Jenna from taxes? Well, again, we saw that on the table. Let's look at our chart. It was 8,058. All right. So 8,058. 8,058. Will Jenna owe or get a refund? Well, we just figured out she's going to get a refund. How much will her refund be? Well, let's go back to our form here. $2,060. All right. So $2,060. There we go. And if you can get those questions right, I know you did it right because you were able to get the right answers. All right. So let's go to the next one, and that is the state tax form. And I actually wrote this up and down so I don't have to go back and forth. So it's based on Jenna's W-2. She had a gross income of $67,000. All right, so now we're going to start doing this for the state of Georgia. So I'm going to try to do this by typing it. So I'm going to try my best to make this all line up, but I'm going to fail. 67,452. All right. Now, line 2, you're single, so it's always going to be 5,000. 5,000. Line 3, you subtract. So that will be 62,452. Now, here we go. Find the tax on the tax table. All right. So let me pause. All right. Here is the Georgia tax table. It's a PDF form. I'm going to scroll all the way down to like 20. Oh, there we go. All right. Now, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. Notice the tax table is divided up by thousands. I got to go to 62,000. All right, so let me scroll down. 53, 54, 55. Oh, there it is. 62,000. Let's see, 62,452. So the way that you do this is that you look at the range. 62,000, 62,100, 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 to 400. And I just totally forgot what it was. 62,452. So it'll be this row right here. Because it's in between this, I'm going to take my first one right here. This is the single, 3,557. Okay? So I'm going to take 3,557. So how much tax should have been taken from her 3,557? Line 5C, that will always be a 0. Line 6, I'm going to subtract 4 from 5, 357, which is the same. Now the Georgia income tax withheld, how much was taken from her? And it says on her W-2, but I didn't give you the W-2. I just said, hey, she paid $6,000. She paid a lot. So she paid $6,071. So the question is, our two conclusions. If line 6 is larger than line 7, so is 6 larger than 7? 6 is 3,000, 7 is 6. Nope, that is not right. So I'm going to, for 8, she is not going to overpay, so I'm going to skip this line and go to 9. Line 7 is bigger. And let's see, she is going to get a refund of $2,514. There you go. Pretty simple. Now, from here, I'm just answering questions. Jenna State questions. When you use the tax table, what was the dollar amount you used? Well, let's go back. I looked up. Let's see. It was 60. I don't know what that was. Sorry, let me try that again. It was 62,452. That was the number I looked up. All right, so 62,452. How much should the state of Georgia collect from Jenna in taxes? Well, we just did this. She should have paid 3,557. All right. So from here, 3,557. Now, will Jenna owe or get a refund? Well, let's go back to the tax table or tax form here. She should have paid 3,000. She ended up paying 6,000. So she obviously overpaid, which means she is going to get a refund. All right. How much will that refund be? Let's see. Oh, there it is, 2514. So $2,514. There we go. That's it. So I hope you learned something. Hope questions were answered. Thank you for spending your time watching this video. Thank you.